Ground to cockpit, plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you are ready. Ground to cockpit, tow is driving up. Okay, all doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect. Tow connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake. Starting pushback. Operation complete. Go ahead and set the parking brake. Disconnecting tow. Stand by. Tow is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the left. We'll see you next time and have fun up there.
26000. Thousand to go.
flying experiences, you will find that the occluded front has the characteristics of both the cold and warm front. In this film, we'll see the development of the occluded front, how it forms, and its associated weather. On the surface weather map, an occluded front is shown by a solid purple line. The classical pattern for the development of an occluded front begins with the formation of an open wave. This open wave occurs when a low-pressure center, or cyclone, forms along an existing front. As the wind in the northwestern part of the low center becomes more northerly, the movement of the cold air is accelerated, and the cold front bulges southward. As a result of the cyclonic circulation in the eastern part of the low-pressure area, the cold air retreats and is replaced by warmer air, causing this portion of the front to become a warm front. This configuration of the cold front and the warm front establishes the open wave. Cold air lies next to the surface north of the wave, whereas south of the wave, in the warm sector, warm air is in contact with the ground. Let's examine the two fronts in cross-section. Along this line, the frontal surfaces slope over the cold air. The accelerated cold air causes rapid lifting of the warmer air, producing a narrow, violent weather band along the cold front. Along the warm front, the warm air rides gently over the cold air, producing a widespread area of non-violent weather in advance of the front on the surface. Depending upon the nature and temperature of the terrain, this air in the warm sector will be stable or unstable. Now, with this open wave established, let's see how an occluded front is formed. Generally, the cold front moves more rapidly than the warm front. When the cold front overtakes the warm front, the wave occludes. An open wave does not always develop into an occluded front, but when it does, you should be thoroughly familiar with the weather it produces. The occluded front may develop in one of two ways, depending upon the temperature of the air beneath the cold front and the temperature of the air beneath the warm front. Here is an example showing the development of a warm front type occlusion, the type most frequently found on the west coast during the winter. The circulation around the low pressure area draws polar air from the Pacific in under the cold front, and also draws polar air from Canada in under the warm front. Since land areas are colder than adjacent water areas in winter, the polar air from Canada under the warm front will be colder than the polar air from the Pacific under the cold front. As the cold front overtakes the warm front, the cool Pacific air rides over the cold Canadian air. The cold front rides up and over the warm front, becoming an upper front. This is a warm front type occlusion. Remember, whenever the air under the warm front is the coldest of the air masses involved, a warm front type occlusion occurs. Another point to remember is that a warm front type occlusion produces an upper cold front that may ride out well in advance of the occlusion at the surface. The surface weather map shows this type occlusion with a solid purple line, an extension of the warm front. The upper cold front is shown with a broken blue line, usually well in advance of the occlusion. The winds around the occluded front tend to follow the pattern of the isobars. The second type of occluded front is the cold front type occlusion. This is typical of the East Coast in winter. Here, the circulation around the low draws the colder air from Canada in and under the cold front, while the cool air from the Atlantic flows in under the warm front. The cold front, with its colder Canadian air, overtakes the warm front with its cool Atlantic air and forces it aloft. The front aloft in this situation is a warm front. This is a cold front type occlusion. It forms when the coldest of the air masses is under the cold front. The position of the upper warm front is very close to the occlusion at the surface. The map shows the cold front type occlusion as a purple line, but now an extension of the cold front. If the upper front is shown, it is depicted with a broken red line. The winds about this occlusion will also follow the pattern of the isobars. Simply stated now, the warm front type occlusion has its upper cold front, and the cold front type occlusion has its upper warm front. The weather resulting with either of these is varied. You should understand, however, that certain characteristics are common to both type occlusions. In each case, the occlusion is a combination of a warm and a cold front and has weather characteristics typical of both. The weather typical of the cold front, that is, the narrow, violent weather core extending to great heights, is generally found along the upper front in both the cold front type and the warm front type occlusion. The occlusion also produces widespread layers of clouds typical of the warm front. In either case, violent weather should be anticipated. When occlusions are indicated, be extremely cautious in your flight planning, because the great cloud layers they produce may hide from view the violent weather along the upper front. Unexpected contact with this weather is always a dangerous probability. In both types of occlusion, the warm air is lifted rapidly along the part of the upper front closest to the warm sector. You must carefully study the weather at the point of occlusion and for distances as great as 100 miles along the upper front, for it is here that the most violent weather associated with the occluded front will generally be encountered. The weather conditions in either the warm or cold front type occlusion can be violent and widespread. With experience, your conclusion will be that each situation must be studied carefully and discussed with the forecaster to properly plan for flying through an occluded front. All weather facilities, plus the experience of trained personnel, are provided for you. Your personal safety and your Air Force mission effectiveness are the end product.
Thousand to go.
safely delivered at its destination, the missile is unloaded in what is almost a reversal of the loading procedure. As soon as the clamshells open and the aircraft has been unbuttoned, and vernier engine containers removed. All track pallets are unloaded. After the ground track is installed, a towing vehicle is hooked to the aft end of the missile trailer. Restrain or retard the downward roll of the trailer, the aircraft winch cable is attached to the crevices on the main cross frame aft of the nitrogen bottle. Checking for tolerance or clearance, the missile is carefully lowered down the aft cargo ramp. Until its rear casters are on the ground track. At station 914, the trailer is secured to the aircraft so that the bridle may be attached to the forward crevices just aft of the kingpin on the trailer. The missile trailer is then carefully towed out of the aircraft until the kingpin is approximately 45 to 46 feet from the aft end of the cargo ramp. Once the trailer is free of the aircraft, all track on the aft loading ramp and bridge work on the ground is taken up. After the bogie is manually pushed to aircraft station 1200, it is attached to the aircraft winch cable and lowered down the ramp to ground level. It is then pushed to the aft end of the trailer. The nacelle fairings are removed from the bogie. Then the Tillerman enclosures are removed. The trailer is now raised on its hydraulic jacks and the bogie reinstalled. trailer is then lowered onto the bogie. And the proper connections made. Meanwhile, ground track under the trailer is removed and replaced on its proper pallets. Now the truck tractor is connected to the missile trailer. With all hookups made, the missile on its trailer is towed away from the aircraft. One more successful airlift of the Atlas missile complete.
The purpose of this film is to acquaint you with the component parts and the operation of the N1 compass. The N1 is a remote indicating magnetic slave directional gyro compass system with a latitude compensator. It is similar to the magnetic slave compass system and consists of the C2 transmitter, normally located in the left wingtip. The amplifier for the transmitter is located in the fuselage. The directional gyro and the slaving control unit are also located in the fuselage. The repeater indicators are located in remote crew positions in the aircraft. And the master indicator is located at the navigator's position. The N1 compass can be used as a gyromagnetic slave compass or a directional gyro with corrections made for apparent precession. These units are similar to those used in the J2 compass, with the exception of the master indicator. All controls for the operation of this system are located on the face of the master indicator. The first of these is the latitude correction control knob. The function of this knob is to switch back and forth from magnetic slave operation to directional gyro operation and also set in latitude. Turning the knob fully counterclockwise slaves the instrument. To use the instrument as a directional gyro, the latitude of the aircraft's position should be known. As an illustration, use 30 degrees north latitude. This unslaves the instrument, and it is now being used in directional gyro operation. To set the aircraft's latitude, turn the latitude correction control knob until the latitude pointer is set on 30 degrees north. The latitude scale is divided into 2-degree increments, clockwise from 90 degrees north to 90 degrees south. In this illustration, the aircraft changes latitude in flight. The latitude pointer should be reset progressively to the new latitude. Generally, the setting of the mid-latitude approximately every 2 degrees is sufficient. The second important control is the synchronizer knob. When the compass is in directional gyro operation, set the heading pointer to the desired gyro heading reference. When it is in slaved operation, that is, when the latitude correction pointer is in the off position, use the knob to synchronize the heading pointer to correct magnetic heading. In this case, the annunciator acts as visual reference to show which direction to rotate the heading pointer to synchronize the system. The heading obtained should be checked against the V16 compass to avoid 180-degree ambiguity. When annunciator pointer is centered, the system is synchronized. The V16 compass is being used as a reference. When using the system as a directional gyro, the annunciator scale is not used. The synchronizer knob is used only to set the heading pointer. To illustrate, the V16 simple magnetic compass on the right reads 090 degrees. The synchronizer knob is now turned arbitrarily to set the heading pointer on 100 degrees. The gyro is now aligned. As visual proof that the system is coordinating signals from either the C2 transmitter or the latitude correction mechanism, there is a correction servo indicator. Observe the direction and speed of rotation of the white dot. The dot rotates clockwise when the latitude correction pointer is set in northern latitude. Counterclockwise when the latitude correction pointer is set in southern latitude. In turns of 23 degrees or more per minute, this slaving control inactivates the leveling of the gyro to minimize compass error. The N1 compass system must have a thorough pre-flight check before the aircraft takes off. The first thing to do is to check the cable connections of all units. This will ensure good contact. Check with the pilot for necessary power and allow approximately 15 minutes for warm-up time. Check slaving control and directional gyro by listening to establish that motor and gyro are running. After the system is warmed up, the navigator continues his pre-flight check. He sets the latitude pointer to the off position, then synchronizes the system. Check the annunciator by rotating the synchronizer knob clockwise and then counterclockwise. Annunciator pointer should follow and show direction of correction needed. Next, check correction servo indicator for direction and speed of rotation. Rotate gyro and rubber shock mount both clockwise and counterclockwise. Check heading pointer to see that it follows the movement of the gyro. Then check the repeater indicator. The system is now ready for in-flight use. Once airborne, ask the pilot for power and allow the system to warm up. For in-flight use as a magnetic slave compass, set the latitude scale pointer to the off position. Then synchronize the system. When in areas where it is desirable to use the directional gyro, set the aircraft's latitude on the latitude correction scale. Then set the heading pointer to desired gyro reference heading of 120 degrees. Make periodic checks of the correction servo indicator. The N1 compass system is especially useful in polar regions. Proper care and adjustment of this system will assure safe arrival at your destination.
1,000 to go.
2,500. 1,000.
1,000 feet stabilized, Mr. Birch, altitude set.
$500. 400. 300. 200. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.